they're a better fit for me, or they are more conducive for my lifestyle, or just more of my culture. But anyway, if you're watching the video version, there's going to be a weird little gap in between, but don't worry about it. I'm just talking about culture, arranged marriages, interesting stuff. What else? I wrote down a couple things. There was something one of my drivers said. His name was Karan. And Karan was a boss. I really, really liked him. He was unbelievably polite. Every time we got someplace, he wouldn't say, okay, we've arrived, you can get out now, or, please unbuckle and exit the vehicle. He would just say, yes, please. Yes, please. And that meant, we're here, get out of the car. But, and his English was good enough. He could answer most of our questions, and, he could talk to us all day. But, his accent was thick and said a lot of things incorrectly, but he was so fun to talk to. And I remember just talking to him about being a tour guide and being around strangers for 4 or 5 straight days. And he said, if you people happy, me happy. And I thought, such a simplistic view of things. And I know, he maybe didn't have all the words to articulate exactly how he felt, but I like the whole, if you people happy, me happy. Like, talk about an easy way to be happy is to find joy in helping other people and being in other people's joy. But that's hard to do. Most people only look for happiness in their own life, in their own achievements, in their own pleasures. But I think if you're like, well, if my friends are happy, I'm happy. If my coworkers are happy, I'm happy. If my family's happy, I'm happy. If people around me are happy, I'm happy. Not a bad way to live life. Not a bad philosophy. Just a couple more things. There was, and I've seen this in a lot of other countries, but there was some pretty extreme poverty, some pretty heart-crushing images we saw. And one of them happened, I think, the first day. Listen, it always breaks your heart when you see child beggars, kids on the street asking for money. And the more I talked to the locals, the more I realized a lot of them aren't necessarily homeless kids. They are just come from extremely impoverished families, and that's just what the kids do. They go hustle, they go try and sell bananas on the street, or they try to sell you little trinkets, especially in touristy spots. Magnets, little chess sets. They will sell any and everything. And then some don't even have those resources, so they just beg. But I saw a girl by herself in a very, very highly a high traffic area, motorcycles zooming by. This girl couldn't have been more than 4 years old. I would guess 3. Barefoot, knocking on car windows, asking for money. And more than anything, I was afraid she was going to get run over, and there's so many people flying by on motorcycles and bikes, and, we were in this taxi cab, and it's like, we couldn't stop to help her if we wanted to, and if we did, I wouldn't know what to do with her, and maybe she had siblings or parents nearby, but I didn't see a soul. And she was very dirty and very petite, and it just broke my heart. To see that. But I think sometimes it's good to see things like that to remind you how good you have it, to remind you how much like the human race is just related. Like, I think when you feel for people, it's a reminder that, hey, that person's your brother, man. That person is your sister. And you might have to do some wacky genealogy to find the connection, but man, we're all, related in some way. We're all brothers and sisters, and it sounds hokey, it sounds trite, but it's true. And I think when you empathize with people and you sympathize and you see people's hurt and it hurts you to see, that's a good reminder that, your brothers, your sisters. So yeah, that hurt to see, but I was just so grateful for the whole trip. It was a great time to be with two close friends, to spend some time away from work and the worries of my soul. And we had like a 6-hour layover in London, which was awesome. I'd never been. I had like a 3-hour layover in London during my Greece trip, and we hustled and just got to this little town and had food. And that was it. The only thing British about it was our waitress's accent. I just wanted to say I had been to England. But yeah, we had a long layover in London, so we got to see all the stuff. Saw Big Ben. What's it called? Westminster Abbey, Buckingham Palace, all the good stuff, and Abbey Road. And yeah, so London was cool. I wish we had a little more time to like eat and kind of like, sit in a pub or do something a little more than just touristy stuff. But it was cool. Got some good pictures. And I would like to explore England more, the UK more, especially like, I know it's it's cliche, but I gotta get to Stonehenge, But I really love just getting on the outskirts of places. That's where it gets fun. But yeah, I think that's about it. People have been asking me what is like, where does India rank in my travels? And because India is my 21st country. And this is hard because, I talked about this a little bit after my Greece trip, but I think the longer you stay somewhere, the more you love it. And so it's not really fair to compare like a 9-day trip versus like a 3-day trip. Like England is just not that high because I was there for 6 hours. Brazil is like incredibly high. I lived there for 2 years. United States doesn't really count because I lived there my whole life. Greece, I was there 10 days. Italy, I was there probably 4 or 5 days. And so I always say a couple of my favorite countries are Poland and Croatia, but I was only in both of those for a few days. So yeah, I don't know. India, I gotta think it's in my top 5. And in no order, I would also put like, Poland, Croatia, India, Greece, and I'm gonna leave Brazil out just because it's a whole other category, having lived there. I would say either Switzerland or Italy. So yeah, welcome to the top 5, India. It's good to have you. The food was great. Only recently have I gotten into Indian food. A friend of mine served his LDS mission in India. He kind of got me into it. There's a couple really good, authentic Indian restaurants here in Utah. But I didn't know. I was like, is this really authentic? But it is. And I'm pretty basic with my Indian food. I like, chicken tikka masala. The naan is always amazing. They often have this what's called like a mango lassi. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's lassi or whatever, but it's kind of like a mango smoothie. I think it's a little bit milk based. But yeah, the food there was amazing. A little spicy, meaning everything you ate every day was spicy, and so a little rough on the tum tum. I can handle spicy food, and I actually like it, but I like it going in. When it enters my mouth, I'm happy. When it exits my body, it's got a mind of its own, and it can get violent. So I didn't have any crazy stomach problems, but I I I saw a lot of different toilets in India, um, and it's funny. The only toilet there that was basically a hole in the ground, and you had to squat. You had to do the Asian squat. Was in the Delhi airport. So it was the first toilet I used in India, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a long trip. Like, I like to, I like to go to the bathroom. I like to take my time, but I'm not used to this squat. Like, this is burning my thighs. This is, this is not it. But it ended up being okay. But yeah, had a few, I tried to try new things, but a lot of things just felt like different variations of spicy curry or whatever, vegetable curry or whatever. What I didn't realize, I knew that they didn't eat beef, right? Because cattle are sacred to them in the Hindu religion, which I learned a lot more about, but Hinduism is crazy complicated. It's crazy complicated. But I think it behooves mankind to understand more about things that are so common to so many people, right? There's so many Hindus in the world. There's over 1 billion. That's all you have to say. Same with Islam, Christianity, Judaism. These really basic core belief systems that millions and millions, if not billions, believe in, wouldn't hurt to know a little bit more about, right? So it was cool to learn more. They have so many gods, so many complicated ceremonies. Their temples are complicated. And I'm sure Christianity is weird and complicated to them, but you want to make a religion complicated, have thousands of gods. That'll make it complicated real quick. But I learned, and don't quote me on this, because there might be other uses or cultural practices, but I've always been curious about the red dot. You see the red dot on the forehead by women and men alike, sometimes on kids. And I'm like, does that just mean they're devout, or does that mean they're married? Well, because you'll see Indians without it. But what I realized is they put that red dot on you when you go into temple. And a lot of them go to temple every day because there are temples everywhere. Because there's temples for individual gods, and a lot of them are really small, and they're inside cities, and they're right next to 7-Eleven, or they're everywhere. It's not, you don't have to make a pilgrimage to the temple. They're everywhere. So a lot of really devout Hindus go to temple every day, or almost every day. So you get dotted up right before you enter the temple. So we actually got dotted up. Visiting a temple. But you know what? They also dotted us up during one of the ceremonies at the wedding, and there was not a temple involved. So it might also be just any ritualistic thing. I know it has to do with Hinduism. It's not just being Indian or the culture. It's a Hindu practice. But I thought it was cool that they were cool with dotting us up, even though we weren't Hindu, because we were just showing respect and trying to be interested in what they believe. And it wasn't, I felt like there were zero Indians that felt like, oh, this is cultural appropriation. It's like, no, we are white Americans trying to immerse ourselves in your culture. So what? And so because it was the same thing at the wedding. Like, we wore classic Indian outfits and headdresses. You know, I wore like a turban on my buddy's wedding night. And no one thought, oh, this is cultural appropriation. This is inappropriate. They're white. They shouldn't be wearing that. They like loved it and respected it and took pictures with us, and it was cool. And I really like that attitude. This whole like cultural appropriation thing to me is usually BS. Like, if you're dressing up or whatever, trying to make fun of another race or another culture, that's one thing. But if you're doing it because you're like, I like this culture, I like that religion, I like how they do things, so I'm gonna kind of mimic it. I just don't see a problem with it. And if you want to get offended, be my guest. But I don't find a lot of utility in searching for reasons to be offended. So yeah, that was cool. A couple other interesting things I surveyed there. We started to notice that a lot of babies had like mascara on, like all around their eyes. And so we asked our driver, and he said that they do that to ward off evil spirits, and from people like capturing their souls by looking into their eyes. And I'm sure it's a little bit more complicated, the belief. I'm sure there's things I'm leaving out, but it was interesting because I saw a lot, you know, not all babies, but a lot of babies had it. And I was like, how come your babies are wearing makeup? Is it just to look cool, or what's up? And so yeah, that was cool to learn about. And then what else? Yeah, there were just some cool things that were like, they're very superstitious people. And, you know, that's complicated to kind of unpack because it has to do perhaps with religious beliefs, but a lot of it is probably cultural and handed down and oral traditions. And, you know, it's, there's no simple way to kind of say, oh, that's why they're superstitious. But a lot of people would, in like their little businesses or in their car, they would have a dangling like lemon and then a few peppers, and that was supposed to like give you good luck, and help you prosper. And you know, I thought that was cool. You know, I'm like Michael Scott on The Office. I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. You know, I think a lot of superstition is kind of placebo effect, you know. I don't know that in and of itself these things have powers, but I believe in the power of thought and the power of belief, right? So anyways, India, the subcontinent, was amazing. For better or worse, the more you travel, the more you want to travel. So I was thinking on that trip, well, where's the next place I really, really want to go? And I don't know, I think my buddy I was with had recently gone to Egypt, and he was talking about that a lot. So that's definitely up there. I mean, you got to see the pyramids, right? You got to see them. But I really want to go to Turkey. Man, I want to go to Turkey. And I don't even like turkey. I mean, turkey's fine, but it's no ham, you know? It's no pastrami, certainly not pepperoni. And the fact that we eat it every Thanksgiving is a little discouraging. But the country, I'm trying to get there. So, and Turkey's not always safe, but I'm gonna go to Turkey. Anyway, listen, I'm really excited about the pod right now. I got this new, these new fancy mics. Look at these. They're really nice for a while, I just had kind of one ghetto little snowball mic that I've been sharing with guests. So the audio probably hasn't been pristine. So I hope things will improve. But yeah, I'm just excited to get this thing going and kind of invest more in it. Financially, sure, but just invest more effort and more passion into it. So I appreciate those that listen and share it with friends. That's the main way the pod can grow, is getting new listeners. But for those who have been listening, it means the world to me. It really does. So we will talk to you soon. This is Of Stone and Clay, episode 50. We did it. Listen, most podcasts don't get 50 episodes. Most people that start podcasts do a few and give up or lose interest. But we're in this thing for the long haul. Okay? So, happy 50th, and love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.